The mind of a child is a powerful and dangerous tool. Our imaginations can run wild when we're young, and so what we experience really can go for miles. A single scary concept can generate weeks worth of unique and terrifying nightmares. This is why most adults don't let kids watch or hear certain things. It's why you couldn't stay up and watch Night of the Scary Man with an Act 7. Though, sometimes, things can get through these restrictions, even when they're in place. Maybe a normally innocent piece of media decides to be something a little more edgy. A single shocking, scary moment that gets into your mind. Or maybe you're like me, and you were scared of Scooby Doo. Justified or not, it's clear one thing or another scared us when we were younger. And so today, I want to look back at these moments, discuss them, and maybe even laugh at them, as we relive the childhood trauma. I have this really distinct memory that is somewhat relevant. You see, when I was given access to TV in my room for the first time, as a kid, you would expect joy, right? I would be happy to have a TV all to myself. Well, that wasn't the case at all. I remember it so clearly. Homer Simpson, the first thing I saw when that TV was turned on and the cable was established in my room. I was crying. Not because of Homer, unfortunately, but because, I don't know. I was just having a small fit over having cable for no real reason. I didn't want it for some reason, and it was to the point of throwing an uncharacteristic tantrum. I just find it really funny. Around the same time as this, I was watching mostly PBS Kids, I believe. Bob the Builder, Clifford the Big Red Dog, Tomix the Tank Engine, Barney the Dinosaur, Arthur the Aardvark, all of those classic characters being beamed directly into my eyes on a daily basis. Though sometimes, there were more shows. I remember occasionally seeing this odd show called The Adventures of Piggley Winks. It was about this elderly pig telling stories of his childhood, which is, now that I think about it, really meta. I'm talking to you, the audience, about my childhood where I watched a show about a pig talking to his grandchildren about his childhood. Incredible stuff. So the idea of the show was that the story the grandfatherly pig tells is somehow related to what his grandchildren are concerned over. There was a real standout episode though. Not because it was particularly better than the rest. No, this episode was different because of what it did to my little brain. It's probably the most ironic outcome, and you'll see why. The episode goes like this. Piggley wants to stay up and listen to the radio show his parents listen to. He is told he can't because it's scary and because he has to go to bed. Piggley tries to get around this by taking a long time to brush his teeth or taking a long time to get water, but inevitably decides to put his bedding near the door as to hear the broadcast. The broadcast was about creepy cabbages. He falls asleep and wakes up to a world around him that is strange and full of cabbages. He quickly realizes this is a dream, and all hell basically overtakes the world around him, until even his friend turns into a cabbage. It ends with him waking up for real and learning a lesson about listening to adults. Now, this fucking episode. Unfortunately, the message didn't even register. Only the cabbages did. Instead of teaching me a lesson, it just gave me cabbage nightmares. In these nightmares, nothing particularly bad happened, but occasionally I'd see a cabbage where it doesn't belong and freak out, thinking hell was about to unleash itself upon me. Not only did I end up learning nothing, considering the video is more than one entry long, but looking back, I don't even think a child could comprehend the message fully. Well, an attempt was made, and in the end, at least rewatching the episode as an adult, I was able to enjoy it. It actually got a genuine laugh out of me.
You know what they say, Bernie? You are what you eat. So I'm thinking maybe you should lay off cabbages for a little while. In fact, the whole flock should lay off cabbages. Except for you, Ethel. You should cut down on the carrots.
So there's this lovely little series of games called Combat of the Giants. It was a series about controlling, customizing, and fighting the giant organism in the game's title. Dragons, dinosaurs, and mutant insects were the giants in question. I played at least one of each, starting with dragons. The most notable thing about these games, besides having fun combat and tons of customization options, was that it had these secret bosses. These bosses were not what you'd expect. You see, around this point in my life, I was both obsessed with and afraid of glitches in video games. I had watched a lot of video game parody videos and animations, resulting in me not quite knowing what a game could do and what a game was not at all capable of. In my mind, a glitch wasn't a programming error, it was like a ghost in your video game. This is why, when I first played Combat of the Giants, Dragons, and encountered a set of drums as a secret boss, I was mortified. Yeah, a clear attempt at humor was lost on me, and I became scared. Every game had these bosses too. The ones I remember off the top of my head were a drum set, a school bus, and a fly swatter, though there were many more. And some games shared them. Here we have me, this poor stupid child thinking glitches were like curses or hauntings, witnessing something incredibly out of place in a video game, and shitting my pants over a school bus. Viewers beware. You're in for a scare, I think. I don't know. Are you? I know I was. And I didn't listen. Goosebumps was a pretty good show, all things considered. As a fan of the show and the books, I had trouble sleeping at night. Take children, put them in scary situations, and I'm dying of fright. There were specific episodes and books that scared me, and due to how different the show and books were at times, my experiences between the two varied. The biggest stinker of the bunch was it came from beneath the sink. This story is still quite disturbing in concept, I will admit. The story is about a family moving into a new home, only to stumble across a creature under the sink called the Gruel. The Gruel looks like an ordinary kitchen sponge, and thrives off of misfortune. Once it finds a new host, it will follow them and feed off of their bad luck, its presence causing more of it. It can't be killed, and if separated from its host, that host will die. Oh boy. The episode featured the Gruel tormenting the family with its presence. All the while, any attempts to tell people about it fail, as it simply acts like a normal sponge when the attempt is made. The show and the books have some differences, and there was one difference that kinda made the episode scarier for my poor dumb child brain. You see, in the book, the Gruel dies due to kindness. The protagonist is nice to the Gruel and shows it love, which kills it. In the show, however, the protagonist finds out the Gruel is weak to positivity. Only weak to positivity. It never dies, only shrivels up. Despite being able to keep it inert by placing a headset with happy music playing through it over the Gruel, the episode doesn't end with it dying, showing my brain that though you can stop it, you're never rid of it if you encounter it. The impact of this episode was immense. I was afraid of using the bathroom after this. I feared it would be under the sink. I also had a temporary fear of spaghetti. Why? Because spaghetti reminded me of the Gruel for some reason. I also was fucking horrified of kitchen sponges, resulting in me actively avoiding them. To really rub salt in the wound, when I moved into a new house, the place was, as you would expect, empty. Empty, save for a sponge laying out near the kitchen sink. Fear. True goddamn fear. Goosebumps didn't end there though. No, no, no. It kept hitting me over and over with a comically oversized shovel until sleep was just a fictional concept. How to Kill a Monster was possibly worse than It Came From Beneath the Sink for me. It was a story about two kids visiting their grandparents in the middle of a swamp. Turns out, their grandparents caught a giant monster and were keeping it in the house. The kids only find out about this once the grandparents leave to go get help. Now the kids have to survive with a giant monster freely roaming the house. This episode is also quite different from the book. Most interestingly, they straight up removed the dog character. Sorry, I meant the dog character. Another weird change is that the monster in the episode is vastly different than what the story claims it to be like. And I mean, in this monster, it fucked me up. After seeing it again as an adult, I get why. This thing is revolting and uncanny, especially in motion. The monster in the book is described as being gorilla-like with an alligator's head. In the show, it's this weird fleshy dinosaur thing. To top it all off, guess where I lived when I watched this episode? With my grandparents, in the middle of a swampy forest. Thankfully, that's where the connections end. I am yet to see a swamp monster. Now, there are more episodes of Goosebumps that kept me up at night, but because this entry is already getting really, really long, and it will only get longer at this rate, I'll rapid fire the rest of the episodes. The Blob That Ate Everyone. This episode is about the main character finding a typewriter that makes whatever is typed happen in real life. This leads to a blob monster being created that starts eating everyone in town. The episode ends with the entire thing being revealed as a fictional story written by an actual blob monster reading it to his friends. This one scared me due to the concept. The idea of a monster that keeps eating everyone it comes across with no way of stopping it was terrifying. The ending only confused me as a kid and the joke didn't land. The way the blob seemingly tracks the protagonist down as though it has full awareness of their location at all times also scared me. You can't run from this monster or hide from it. Also, like most props used in the series, this one was an uncanny nightmare to look at. Monster Blood. The plot of Monster Blood is irrelevant. All that matters about this episode is that it introduced me to the concept of an infinitely multiplying threat. Monster Blood is a green goop that, once unleashed from its can, seemingly never stops growing and absorbs any living thing it touches. Of course, Monster Blood isn't immortal and has an expiration date, but that didn't register to my little baby brain. I thought once it was out, the world was basically over. Okay, holy shit, we're finally done. Wait, the haunting hour, don't think about it. Okay, fine, I guess we're not quite done with this entry. I want to mention another instance of R.L. Stine nuking my concept of sleep. The Haunting Hour, don't think about it. It's a movie I saw when I was little. It's about a creature called the Evil Thing. The Evil Thing, as the name of the movie implies, is brought to life by thinking about it. It's a big old beast with two heads. One sucks out the blood, and the other eats the flesh. This thing is horrifying. I can easily say this monster design is still scary, though finding a good image of it is shockingly difficult. I don't think I need to explain why this film scared me. It's about a monster that can only exist if you think about it. Good fucking God. Alphabet Park Adventure. Ever heard of this game? I don't blame anyone who says they don't, because this game was for a console I'm pretty sure people never even knew about. The V-Smile, a device clearly made by the devil himself. Alphabet Park Adventure is a simple platformer about collecting power rings and not having the motor skills or mental capacity to beat the game without an adult's help. I am not kidding, and I am ashamed of myself. In all seriousness, this game is nothing special, but for what it was a decent little game. The only issue is, it scared me. Oh yes, it scared me quite a bit actually. You see, the game had a level known as Monsterville. Monsterville is a very, very simple level. You walk in a straight line for most of it, all while avoiding monsters that occasionally pop up from the boxes on the floor. This, however, made me fart my skull off. I didn't quite register the obvious telegraphing of the monster's attack, and so it really felt like monsters were popping up out of the floor randomly with no real way to avoid them, which was terrifying to me. Next, we have this water level, where a majority of it takes place on a funny robot duck boat thing. There is, however, a segment in which an alligator enemy is introduced. They aren't hard to avoid if you're anyone but a young me. Shortly after this, we have to run away from this alligator who is eating the log platform. It's really easy. But for some reason, I was always super scared and tense during this part. Finally, we'll have to talk about the circus level. I'm sorry for those who have never heard of this enemy, as introducing them now may actually be one of the most immoral acts I have ever committed. For those who are easily frightened by demented torture devices crafted by Satan himself, turn away. If there are children watching, go back in time and make sure they are never born, as to save them from following in my footsteps of learning about this thing. Brace yourself, dear viewer, for here we have the most disturbing entity ever conceived by the universe. Wait, no, wrong image, that's just Roderick. Here we are. This is what I'm talking about. This clown enemy tormented me for my entire childhood. I don't actually know if there was ever a moment where I was able to get through this portion of the circus level without needing an adult to save me from this clown. The worst part is, it sings. It sings and sings a tune it must find so beautiful. And yet it was forced into my tiny child brain, where it never left. Oh yeah, there was also a Shrek game for the V-Smile and it used Ocarina of Time music. No, I am not joking. My first exposure to Ocarina of Time soundtrack was this game. God help us.
Help Shrek to pick the correct potion. When you find a glass that has one half of a potion, use your joystick to move the pincers. Press the enter button to pick up a glass. What should Pinocchio say? Use your joystick to move Gingy. Press the enter button to pick the false statement.
The Lima Bean episode of Jimmy Neutron. There is no build-up, I'm just stating it now. It was that damned episode that got me spooked. The giant killer lima bean that chased around the cast in Carl's dream, then later in the real world. It stuck with me. I had a nightmare about a similar looking creature that wasn't specifically a lima bean, but was still green and eyeless. To summarize the episode, it's about Carl having nightmares and Jimmy going into his dreams to help, only to find that Carl's dreams happened to feature him as the smart one and Jimmy as the person who can't even spell his own name. The climax of the episode is when the lima bean is revealed. The thing that scared Carl so much was a living lima bean, one that grows larger and starts to chase them around. The episode ends with the lima bean escaping into the real world from the dream, where it momentarily chases everyone down, before the episode abruptly cuts to the cast eating the lima bean, explaining that it was defeated but not showing it happening. The episode is silly, funny, goofy, and nice. But that lima bean can go fuck itself. The concept of absolutely nothing is scary. The idea of the lack of anything at all, but you yourself. This is why voids in video games scare me. The unknown, the confusion, the lack of anything at all. You're lost in the same black emptiness, a place where you're not supposed to be. But what if you were supposed to be there? That's what the mirror room in Mario 64 is. Pokemon Ranger was a good little series of games, and the last game in the series as of this video, Guardian Signs, added a really neat feature to fast travel. You can ride on the back of a Pokemon through the sky. The sky area is uncanny. It's an endless void of clouds in all directions, rarely differing in appearance. This fucking scared the soul out of me as a kid, especially the darker stormy area and the volcano area of the sky. The former was dark, while the latter was a red sky. I used to have dreams as a kid about flying outside of the region, with a twisted realm where nothing made sense, and the presence of something else was felt the entire time. The game also had a point in it where the entire sky was empty. Only the legendary birds scattered across the region. It made things worse, more isolated. Video game voids are one thing. Intentional video game voids are another. I think I'll just stick to the normal fast travel method, thank you. It's finally time. I implied this would happen a while ago. E.T. the Ever-Present Terror. Let me tell you, and explain directly to you, why this funny alien scared me, and why it is still hard for me to look at it. Back when I was little, like a very little tiny little child, like 3 years old, I caught wind of a movie called E.T. I didn't really know anything about it. Then I watched a DVD of the live-action Grinch movie. I saw it. A trailer for E.T. I was horrified. What was this thing? Why did it exist? E.T., the movie, became sort of a cryptid for me. I heard stories of it, and that we may have a copy of the movie lying around somewhere waiting to be uncovered. Then finally I got to see the movie. All this hype, and it was ungodly. The movie started off setting E.T. up as this terrifying beast. You only saw him in the shadows for a good portion of the start. Then it reveals him fully. How does it do this? Oh, you know, like a horror movie. The main character, Elliot, walks through some corn, only to find E.T., causing him to scream. E.T.'s scream still haunts my dreams. The entire thing is the opposite of fun, and simply scared me away from ever finding E.T. cute or funny or interesting. E.T. became a being of fear for me. I'd have regular nightmares featuring him in some way. The most common one is me seeing his glowing finger wrap itself around a doorway or wiggle as though it was trying to get my attention. There were also dreams where he would just appear, mostly in a non-antagonistic way, more so there to frighten me than to harm me. There was a nightmare I had where I was at my aunt's house alone, and I found a wall of metal lunchboxes blocking a doorway. I started to take them down one by one, until I noticed him on the other side of the wall. E.T., his face directly in front of mine. I screamed and the dream ended. E.T. was framed as a horror movie monster in my brain, and looked a bit unsettling too. So combine these things together, and even now, I'm unsettled by that funny alien. To end this entry off, I'd like to mention something that I once was told by someone I knew. Someone who claimed they had a memory about E.T. You know, this person, he was standing there with his mother in a room, and E.T. was there, standing and tracking a fly with his eyes. No matter what he did or said, his mother didn't notice E.T. in the room with them. I don't know how to feel about this. The Sims isn't a series you'd expect to scare someone as much as it scared me, but that's likely because you never played The Sims 2 for the DS. Sims 2 for DS is, well, it's weird. It's not a traditional Sims game, in case it wasn't obvious about the whole being a DS game part. It's a hotel management game set in Strangetown, a small town located near a desert. As the name of the town implies, it's not all that normal of a place. The game features robots, aliens, Bigfoot, and most terrifying of all, responsibilities. It's your job to run a hotel and complete story missions along the way. It's a genuinely fun little game, but we're not here to review the game today. No. We're here to talk about how it scared me. And it scared me so bad. It was almost entirely in the desert. The desert was a disorienting location full of mostly nothing. At the farthest end of the desert you could go without dying of radiation, you'd find an alien ship just beyond an oasis. The desert scared me for some reason. I hated going too far into it. especially since the sanity meter would passively drain in it. Yeah, this game had a sanity meter. I can say for certain that this game felt like a dream. It had a very dreamlike aura about it. The soundtrack is also weird and unsettling at times. I always used to think you could somehow escape the town and reach a tropical resort area for some reason. I don't know why. I just did. Who knows? Maybe I was right. To end this entry off, let me show you some pictures of the game while I play disorienting music in the background to really amplify that dreamlike quality. Oh boy, it's that time, isn't it? Scooby Doo. This dog haunted me for most of my life. It was the live-action movies, definitely. They made me afraid of him. I would have nightmares where Scooby Doo would be waiting for me around a corner down a long hallway, where he'd appear and start running at full speed towards me. I don't want to talk about what he'd normally do when he got me because it's uncomfortable to talk about. This wasn't just Scooby. It was also any dog in my dreams, even my own dog or a family member's dog. They'd randomly turn hostile in my dreams and start chasing me down. I had a dream once. I had a Scooby Doo tail, but it wasn't actually my own tail. I couldn't move it, and it was seemingly moved on its own without a purpose. Ugh. There was a day when I finally had enough. I confronted this thing wearing Scooby's skin. It charged me, but I didn't run. I told it no. I told it to go away and never come back. It stopped running. It looked at me, stared at me, and that was it. It never bothered me again. I still have dreams sometimes where I approach a hallway and call out for Scooby Doo, expecting him to appear and chase me. He never does. I can search every inch of the house in the dreams that I have and never find him. I really did say goodbye that night. The thing that looked like Scooby Doo stopped bothering me and left me forever. Sure, I still have dream monsters and sometimes I have them running down halls after me. But Scooby Doo specifically never came back. Dogs stopped bothering me in dreams too. Now I just deal with entities I'd never actually see and or twisted humanoids. I have disturbing dreams still. Plenty, but that's for another video at another time. Normally when I do bonus entries, I follow a formula of sorts. The entry must relate to the topic, but usually only one component of it is really needed to be related. For example, if I did a video about weird fish, the bonus entry could be about any weird animal or any fish. Today, however, there will be no deviations. Instead, I'm dedicating this entry to a bunch of things I don't think constitute entire entries. Here we go. Trappas. Trappas are Pac-Man-like enemies from the Starfy series. They are invincible, flying menaces that can eat Starfy if they catch up to him, sending him back to the last visited entrance. They scared me due to their unstoppable nature and frightening appearance. Bad Egg. Bad eggs were a form of anti-cheating measures starting in Generation 3 of Pokémon. If the game thinks you did something illegal, it tends to shove a bad egg onto the issue, which normally means putting one in your party or your PC. Bad eggs can cause all sorts of issues by existing. Though for the purpose of scaring me, you can think of a specific video on YouTube that showcased what they do, where it used incredibly intense, menacing music which made me fucking terrified of bad eggs. THX. Yep, the THX deep note was terrifying. Not just the deep note though. There was a special THX intro I remember having on my DVD of Monsters, Inc. It was known as the THX Moo Can. It featured this funny little robot appearing on screen, and you know what? Just watch it yourself. It scared me beyond belief and made me not want to watch Monsters, Inc. anymore, even though I loved that movie a lot. Flushed away. The rat characters made me uncomfortable. Just looking at them made me wish to run away. I had a fast food meal toy of one of the characters and it made me feel uncomfortable to take my eyes off of it. Felt like it would move if I did anything but stare at it. Chronicles of Narnia McDonald's commercial. I don't have a singular fucking idea why this scared me the way it did. Nothing about this commercial is scary, but it made me feel really uneasy for no apparent reason. Face Stealer. Probably one of the worst concepts for a child to witness. The Face Stealer was an antagonist from the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers who did exactly what you think it did. It was genuinely horrifying to me. That show had a lot of uncanny antagonists. I didn't even fully scratch the surface for this video. I could have gone on for a lot longer but decided to stop myself. We'd be here for days if I had kept going. In the future, maybe we'll come back to this topic again. For now, tell me what you were scared of as a kid. Maybe I'll have enough replies to do a viewer submission section in the next video. Until next time, don't acknowledge the thing standing in the corner of the room and have a fungus.